Hello students, in this video session we will start with the first unit, that is measuring instruments. In this unit we will be studying about construction working of PMMC meter, moving iron meter, DC ammeter, DC voltmeter, extension of ranges, series ohm meter, analog multimeter, digital multimeter, AC voltmeter using rectifier, extension of ranges and effect of loading. Name of this course is electronic measurement. So what is measurement? Measurement is the result of quantitative comparison between a predefined standard value and an unknown quantity. This means that you are measuring some quantity with respect to predefined standard value. Now, what is an instrument? Instrument is a device or a mechanism used to determine present value of the quantity under observation. That means you are measuring some quantity using one device or a mechanism which will be termed as instrument. Let us see how electrical instruments are classified. Electrical instruments can be classified based on many parameters. First, based on type of the signal which instrument can measure, based on the type of the output that can be obtained, and finally whether the instrument is analog or digital in nature. Based on the type of the signal that instrument can measure, there are three types of instruments. First, AC instruments, DC instruments, AC or DC instruments. In AC instruments, electrical instruments can measure only AC quantity, for example induction type instruments. In DC instruments, instruments can measure only DC quantity, for example PMMC instruments. This type of instruments we will be studying in this video. Finally, AC or DC instruments can work on both AC as well as DC quantity. Example, moving iron instruments, dynamometer, etc. Electrical instruments can also be classified as analog instruments and digital instruments. Analog instruments display analog information, that is continuous and stepless function of time. This grey color signal is analog in nature. It is continuous and stepless function of time. Now analog instruments have advantages such as they are very easy to understand, calibrate and maintain. Now digital instruments display digital information, that is in the form of discrete pulses or steps. This red color signal is digital in nature. It is having pulses or steps which is function of time. Digital instruments have advantages such as they have higher resolution and high readability. Various instruments used in practice are voltmeter, which is used to measure AC and DC voltages, ammeter, which is used to measure AC and DC current, wattmeter, which is used to measure AC power, and finally energy meter, used to measure energy. What is torque? Torque is the measure of the force that can cause an object to rotate about an axis. Suppose this is axis of rotation, this is the object which needs to be rotated about this axis, then force F will be applied to this object. Now we know that force causes object to accelerate or move in the linear motion, but torque causes angular acceleration. Thus, torque can be defined as rotational equivalent of the linear force. Now, torque is given as F into R into sine theta, where F is the force applied to the object, R is the distance between the object and the rotational axis, and theta is the degree of rotation. Operation of indicating instruments such as ammeter, voltmeter, etc. are based on three types of torques: deflecting torque, controlling torque, and damping torque. For satisfactory operation of any indicating instrument, all these three types of torques must act together appropriately. First, let us see what is deflecting torque. Deflecting torque causes the moving system, that is, the pointer attached to the spindle and the moving coil of the instrument, to move from the position of rest. For example, if I need to measure current of 5 amperes using ammeter, first the pointer will be at rest, that is at 0 position. To measure the current of 5 amperes, the pointer has to move from 0 to 5 on the reference scale. Thus, it will require deflecting torque to move from 0 to 5 amperes. Thus, deflecting torque moves the pointer only in one direction. Second type of torque is controlling torque. Controlling torque limits the movement of the moving system. That is, it acts in the opposite direction
to that of the deflecting torque. So this is required because the pointer should be at 5 amperes and not go beyond that. Thus, at the steady state, that is when the pointer is at rest, deflecting torque will be equal to controlling torque. The last type of torque which is required is damping torque. We have seen that in deflecting torque, pointer moves only in one direction. In controlling torque, pointer moves in the opposite direction with respect to the deflecting torque. Due to these two opposite torques, that is deflecting torque and controlling torque, pointer may oscillate in forward and backward direction before coming to the rest. Thus, damping torque is required to bring the moving system, that is the pointer, to rest quickly in its final position. Damping torque acts only when the moving system, that is the pointer attached to the spindle and the moving coil, is actually moving. If moving system, that is pointer, is at rest, damping torque is equal to 0. This is the same example, that is to measure the current of 5 amperes using ammeter. Initially the pointer will be at rest, that is at 0 position. Deflecting torque will cause it to move from 0 to 5 amperes and this torque will act only in one direction. Now the controlling torque will limit the pointer at 5 amperes. That will not allow the pointer to move beyond 5 amperes. So this controlling torque acts in the opposite direction to that of the deflecting torque. Now the damping torque will minimize the oscillations caused due to the deflecting torque and the controlling torque and bring this pointer to rest quickly at 5 amperes. When pointer is at 0 or 5 amperes, that is, it is steady, then the deflecting torque and the controlling torque will be equal. Similarly, the damping torque will be 0 when pointer stabilizes itself at 5 amperes, that is when it is steady.
Depending on magnitude of torque, damping may be classified as underdamped, overdamped or critically damped. Now, this graph is showing the effect of damping on deflection of pointer. Now, for example, if the instrument is underdamped, pointer will come to rest after some oscillation. These are the oscillation. After certain number of oscillations, the pointer will be coming to rest. Now, next, when instrument is overdamped, pointer takes certain time to attain its final deflected position. If instrument is critically damped without oscillation, in short span or short time the pointer reaches final steady state. We know that by Ohm's law V is equal to IR. Thus by cross multiplying we get I is equal to V divided by R. Power is given as P is equal to V into I. If we substitute V is equal to IR in this equation, we should get P is equal to I square R. Similarly, I is equal to V divided by R. If we substitute this equation in this, we'll get P is equal to V square divided by R. With this knowledge, let us see what is the power loss in an ammeter and voltmeter. To measure current across the load, we have to always connect the ammeter in series with the load. Thus, current flowing through the ammeter will be equal to current flowing through the load, as both these things, that is ammeter and the load, are in series. In series, current through the elements remains the same. The resistance offered by the ammeter is Ra. Hence, we can find the power loss in an ammeter using this equation. Thus, power loss in an ammeter is Pa is equal to I square into Ra, where I is the current flowing through the ammeter and Ra is the resistance offered by the ammeter. We know that Pa is directly proportional to Ra. That is, power loss is directly proportional to the resistance offered by the ammeter. Thus, to minimize the power loss, we have to have very small resistance of the ammeter. Similarly, to measure the voltage across the load, voltmeter should always be connected in parallel with the load. Thus, voltage across the load will be equal to the voltage across the voltmeter, that will be equal to V. Current will be I, that is supplied by the source. and voltmeter will be offering resistance equal to Rv. Using this equation, that is P is equal to V square upon R, we get power loss in an voltmeter as PV equal to V square divided by Rv, where R suffix V is the resistance offered by the voltmeter. In this equation, we can see that power loss in an voltmeter is inversely proportional to the resistance. Thus, to minimize the power loss in an voltmeter, this resistance offered by the voltmeter should always be large. Ammeter is the device used for measurement of current in the circuit. Ammeter is always connected in series with the load through which the current has to be measured. Now, since the resistance offered by the ammeter is very small, the introduction of this ammeter in this circuit does not alter any circuit parameters. Similarly, voltmeter is used for measuring voltage across the load. Now, voltmeter is always connected in parallel with the load across which potential difference of voltage has to be measured. This voltmeter has a high resistance. Thus, minimum current flows through this high resistance path. Therefore, it does not alter any circuit parameters. Now let us compare ammeter with the voltmeter. Ammeter is used to measure the current flowing through the load or through the circuit, and voltmeter is used to measure the voltage across the load. Now ammeter is always connected in series with the load through which the current has to be measured, and voltmeter is connected in parallel with the load across which the voltage needs to be measured. Now resistance offered by the ammeter is very low so that it does not alter any circuit parameters. Now voltmeter offers very high resistance so that the minimum current flows through this high resistance path and no circuit parameters are changed. These are the connection diagrams for ammeter and voltmeter respectively. Various types of instruments are used for voltmeters and ammeters. These instruments are as follows. First one, permanent magnet moving coil or PMMC type of instruments, moving iron type of instruments, electrodynamometer, hot wire type of instruments, induction type of instruments, thermocouple type of instruments, electrostatic type of instruments, and rectifier base instruments. The first one, that is PMMC type of instruments, can be used only for DC measurements, and the induction type of instruments can be used only for AC type of measurement. Remaining all other instruments can be used for both AC as well as DC measurements. In this video, we will be studying only PMMC type of instruments and moving iron type of instruments. Both these type of instruments depend upon electromagnetic effect of current for their action, and these are the most practically used in ammeters and voltmeters. Let us learn about permanent magnet moving coil instruments or PMMC instruments. PMMC instruments are also known as D'Arsnoval's instruments. These instruments work on the principle of electromagnetic effect of the current. These instruments use permanent magnets which are made up of alloys, and they can generate their own persistent magnetic field. These magnets are used to produce magnetic flux. The coil which is used in this instrument, it's moving, it's not fixed. Hence the name permanent magnet moving coil. Now let us learn about the construction of PMMC instruments. PMMC instrument consists of a moving coil which is shown in red color in this figure. This coil has winding made up of very thin wire. This coil is mounted on the aluminium frame. This frame is attached to the spindle. This arrangement is positioned between two U-shaped permanent magnets which act as North Pole and South Pole. These magnets are made up of alloys like Alnico and Alcomax. Endings of this coil is attached to the fixed terminal of the helical spring. These are the helical springs placed on the opposite sides. These helical springs are used for controlling the torque. The spindle is positioned on jewel bearings on both the sides. Thus, the coil and the springs are free to rotate. The current which has to be measured is fed through the springs to this coil. The pointer is attached to the spindle which can move over this reference and calibrated scale. The cylindrical core is used, which is this green color, placed between the aluminium frame. This is used to make the magnetic field radial, that is to allow magnetic field to pass from North Pole to the South Pole and to distribute the magnetic field to the entire coil mechanism. Aluminium frame is used firstly to hold the coil and secondly for eddy current damping. The working principle of PMMC instrument is based on the fact that when the current carrying conductor, that is this moving coil, is placed between the magnetic field, it experiences a force. This force is given by the expression F is equal to B into I into L, where F is force in Newton, B is the flux density in Tesla, which acts from North Pole to the South Pole, I is the current in this moving coil, and L is the length of the conductor in meters. Now, let us see the working of the MMC instrument. When the current which is to be measured is passed through these helical springs to the moving coil, this coil experiences a force which is directly proportional to this current. Due to the electromagnetic force, the coil carrying the current will be moving in this strong magnetic field. Hence, the pointer which is attached to the spindle will also move. The angle through which this pointer moves or the deflection of this pointer on the scale is directly proportional to this current. Thus, more the current, more will be the movement of the coil. For operation of PMMC instruments, three types of torques are necessary. They are deflecting torque, controlling torque, and damping torque. Deflecting torque is directly proportional to the current or the voltage to be measured. Controlling torque is provided by the spring control, and damping torque, that is eddy current damping, is provided by the aluminum frame over which the coil was wound. We can prove that deflection of the pointer is directly proportional to the current which is passed through the moving coil. Deflecting torque, that is Td, is given by the expression Td is equal to G into I, where G is the constant given as N into B into L into D, where N is the number of turns, B is the magnetic flux, and LD are the coil dimensions, and I is the current which is passed through the moving coil. Controlling torque is given by the expression Tc is equal to K into theta, where K is the control spring constant given in Newton meter per radian, and theta is the deflection of the coil from zero position. We know that at steady state, both these torques, that is deflecting torque and the controlling torque, are equal. Thus, we can equate these two equations as K theta is equal to Gi. In this expression, K and G are constants. So, theta increases when current increases and theta decreases when current decreases. That is, theta is directly proportional to I. Thus, it is proved that deflection of the pointer is directly proportional to the current which is passed through the coil. Advantages of PMMC instruments are PMMC instrument consumes less power and has high accuracy. They have uniformly divided scale which can cover an arc of 270 degrees. PMMC has high torque to weight ratio. They can be modified as ammeter or voltmeter with the suitable resistances connected in series or parallel. They have efficient damping characteristics and are not affected by stray magnetic fields. They produce no losses due to hysteresis as there are no iron parts in them. Disadvantages of PMMC instruments: they can be used only for DC measurements, they are very delicate but can be used for AC circuits with the help of rectifier, they are very costly, and they show errors due to loss of magnetism of permanent magnets. Errors in the PMMC instruments occur due to weakening of the permanent magnets due to the variations in the temperature, weakening of the springs, and change in the resistance of the moving coil with the variations in temperature. PMMC instrument can be used as ammeter by simply connecting a resistor in parallel with the PMMC instrument. This resistor is known as shunt resistor and has very low resistance value. This arrangement of PMMC instrument in parallel with the shunt resistor will have a very low net resistance. This will result in a very low voltage drop across this arrangement. Thus, it will not affect any other circuit parameters when connected in series with the other elements. PMMC instruments can be used as voltmeter by simply connecting a resistor in series with the voltmeter. This series resistance should have high resistance value so that lesser current flows through the PMMC meter. Moving iron instruments or MI instruments. These are the instruments in which moving iron is used for measuring the flow of current or the voltage. The working principle of moving iron instrument is based on the fact that iron piece near the magnet gets attracted towards the magnet and the force of attraction depends on the strength of the magnetic field. Let us see the construction of moving iron instrument. Moving iron instruments consist of a vane or a plate of a soft iron which is free to move and a stationary coil that acts as the electromagnet. Electromagnet is a temporary magnet whose magnetic field strength increases or decreases with the magnitude of the current which passes through it. The stationary coil is fed with the voltage or a current whose magnitude is required to be measured. Let us see the basic working of the moving iron instrument. When an electric current that is to be measured is passed through the stationary coil, it acts as an electromagnet and produces the magnetic field. The strength of this magnetic field induced by the electromagnet is directly proportional to the current that is flowing through it. Moving iron vane increases the inductance of the stationary coil, thus electromagnet attracts the iron vane. When vane passes through the coil, it tries to occupy the minimum reluctance path and hence experiences a force of repulsion. Thus, a soft iron piece, when attracted or repelled by the magnetic field, moves the pointer which is attached to it, which shows the deflection on the calibrated scale. The calibrated scale for the moving iron instrument is non-linear.
Measuring direct current and alternating current with moving iron meter. A moving iron meter is a device that makes use of the magnetic effect of an electric current. The following diagram shows the basic structure of moving iron meter. The moving iron meter consists of a coil inside, which contains two soft iron circular bars. The larger bar is fixed. The smaller bar is attached to an axle pivoted on jeweled bearings. When a current is flown through the coil, both the bars are magnetized with like poles adjacent to each other. Repulsion takes place, causing the smaller bar to rotate until it is stopped by the control couple, provided by the hairsprings. The rotation of the smaller bar causes the pointer attached to the axle to move over a scale. The larger the current, the greater the repulsion, and subsequent movement of the pointer. The scale of moving iron meter is non-linear, that is, the scale is not evenly divided. This is because the force of repulsion between the irons is not directly proportional to the current flowing through the coil. The advantage of the moving iron meter is that it can measure both direct current and alternating current. The disadvantage of a moving iron meter is that its scale is not linear.
When ruggedness or strength is more important than high degree of accuracy, moving iron instruments are used. There are two types of moving iron instruments, attraction type and repulsion type. These instruments can be used for both AC as well as DC measurements. Let us try to learn about the first type of moving iron instruments, that is the attraction type of moving iron instruments. These are the instruments in which the iron plate attracts from the weaker magnetic field towards the stronger magnetic field. Let us see the construction of the attraction type of moving iron instruments. There is a stationary coil which is flat and has a narrow opening. There is a moving iron or moving element, which is a flat disc of a soft iron core, and it is eccentrically mounted. The coil is situated around this disc. When the coil is excited, that is when the current flows through the stationary coil, it produces the magnetic field which attracts this iron coil. Due to the magnetic field, moving iron vane deflects from the weaker magnetic field outside the coil to the stronger magnetic field inside the coil. Thus, moving iron gets attracted inwards and thus the name attraction type. Strength of the deflection is directly proportional to the magnitude of the current that flows through it. The controlling torque is provided by the balance weights attached to the moving iron. The springs also can be used for providing the controlling torque. Damping is provided by the air friction, in which aluminium piston is attached to the moving system and it moves in a closed air damping chamber. Now let us learn about the second type of moving iron instrument, that is the repulsion type of moving iron instrument. Repulsion type of moving iron instrument is shown in this figure. This is the side view and this is the top view of the moving iron instrument. Repulsion type of moving iron instrument consists of two vanes or soft iron plates. One is fixed and the other one is movable, placed inside a stationary coil. Both these vanes get similarly magnetized when the coil is excited, that is, when the current flows in the stationary coil. Thus, these plates experience force of repulsion between them. Because of the force of repulsion, the moving vane starts moving away from the fixed vane. Spring provides the controlling torque in this, and air friction induces damping torque which opposes the movement of the coil. The repulsion type of instrument is a non-polarized instrument that is free from the direction of the current which passes through it. Thus, it can be used for both AC as well as DC. There are two different types of repulsion type of instruments. The first one is radial vane type and the second one is coaxial vane type. In radial vane type of moving iron instruments, radial strips of iron are used as moving vanes. That is, they are like a radius of a circle. Hence, the name radial. In this case, fixed vane is attached to the coil and the moving vane is attached to the spindle. In second type of moving iron instrument, that is coaxial type of moving iron instruments, fixed and moving vanes are sections of the coaxial cylinders. They are like pieces of cylinders with a common axis. In both these cases, controlling torque is provided by the springs or the balancing weights, and air friction induces the damping torque. Let us try to understand various types of moving iron instruments through this animation.
What is moving iron instrument? This instrument is one of the most primitive forms of measuring and relay instrument. Moving iron instruments consist of a measuring mechanism consisting of a moving iron system. Let us discuss the general principle of a moving iron instrument. Let us take a plate or vane of soft iron or of high permeability steel. Let us place this iron vane in a magnetic field produced by the stationary coil. Let us connect this source with this coil. When the current is flowing through the coil, it produces flux. Hence, this coil becomes an electromagnet. Naturally, the iron vane moves. This iron vane will move in such a way so as to increase the flux of the electromagnet. Thus, the vane tries to occupy a position of minimum reluctance. Thus, the force produced is always in such a direction so as to increase the induction of the coil. A pointer is attached or fixed to the vane. As the movement of the vane depends on the strength of electric field of the coil, the position of the pointer also depends upon the strength of the electric field. The strength of electric field is proportional to the current through the coil. Hence, position of the pointer can indicate the quantity of current in the circuit. Here it indicates how much current is supplied by the source. As the current is proportional to the voltage of the source, it can also measure or indicate the voltage of the source. The moving iron instrument is mainly classified as two types. One is the attraction type instrument and the other is the repulsion type instrument. Now let us come to the attraction type moving iron instrument. A piece of soft iron vein is placed nearer to a magnet that it would be attracted by the magnet. The force of this attraction depends upon the strength said magnetic field. If the magnet is electromagnet, then the magnetic field strength can easily be increased or decreased by increasing or decreasing current through its coil, so that the single soft iron vein is mounted on the spindle and it is attracted towards a coil. Let us discuss repulsion type moving iron instrument. In this type of instrument, two soft iron veins are used, one fixed and attached to the stationary coil, while the other is movable and mounted on the spindle of the instrument. When operating current flows through the coil, the two veins are magnetized, developing similar polarity at the same ends. Consequently, repulsion takes place between the veins, and the movable vein causes the pointer to move over the scale. I hope you have understood.
Advantages of using moving iron instruments are they are suitable for both AC as well as DC measurements. They have very high accuracy and cheaper in cost. The instrument has high torque to weight ratio and can be used for low frequency measurement. Disadvantages of using moving iron instruments are: first one, they consume high power, their scale is non-uniform, and due to the presence of iron part in the operating system, errors due to hysteresis effect are introduced. These errors can be reduced by using nickel iron alloys.
Now let us see how PMMC galvanometer can be used as DC ammeter. We know that current is the rate of flow of electric charge. If this electric charge flows only in one direction, then the resultant current is called as direct current or DC current. The instrument which is used to measure this direct current or DC current is known as DC ammeter. Consider this circuit wherein there is a resistance in series with the DC source. Now, if we need to find DC current flowing through this resistance, DC ammeter should be connected in series with that resistance. This is DC ammeter. This consists of a resistor in parallel with the PMMC galvanometer. This entire combination acts as a DC ammeter. This parallel resistance is used in DC ammeter is known as shunt resistance or simply shunt. Value of this resistance should be very small so that most of the DC current flows through this shunt resistance. Let us see what is the need of using the shunt resistor, or why we cannot directly measure current using PMMC galvanometer without using the shunt resistor. Standard PMMC galvanometer can carry small amount of currents which ranges in microamperes or milliamperes. Now this range can be defined from 0 to IFST, where IFST is the full scale deflection current which is required for full deflection of the pointer or the needle of the galvanometer. The reason why this PMMC galvanometer can carry only small currents is mainly due to its thin wire size of the windings used in the PMMC moving coil. If there was no shunt resistor, all large currents would have flown through the PMMC galvanometer and would always display maximum or the highest reading on the scale. Large currents which are greater than IFST or maximum full scale deflection current would also force pointer or the needle of the galvanometer beyond its maximum full scale deflection, that is beyond the scale of the galvanometer. This would result in overheating and damaging of the coil windings and also would have bent the pointer. Thus, to measure the large amount of current which are greater than IFST, it is always necessary to bypass the major part of the current through the shunt resistor so as to protect the galvanometer.
Let us try to derive an equation for shunt resistance RSH. We know that when elements are in parallel, the voltage across the elements are equal. Since RSH, that is shunt resistance, is in parallel with the PMMC galvanometer, the voltage across the shunt resistance, that is VSH, is equal to the drop across the PMMC galvanometer VM. VSH, that is voltage drop across the shunt resistance, can be written as ISH into RSH, and Vm, that is drop across the PMMC galvanometer, can be written as Im into Rm. Rearrange this equation to get the expression for RSH. Thus, RSH will be equal to Im into Rm divided by ISH. Write this equation as equation number 1. Applying KCL, that is Kirchhoff's current law, at node 1, that is, we have to equate the current which is entering the node to that of the current leaving the node. Current entering the node 1 is I, which will be equal to the current leaving the node, that is ISH plus Im. Rearrange this equation to get ISH. Thus, ISH will be equal to I minus Im. Substitute the value of ISH in equation number 1. Thus, the value of shunt resistance RSH will be Im into Rm divided by I minus Im. Write this equation as equation number 2. This is the equation we had got for RSH in the previous slide. That is, RSH is equal to Im into Rm divided by I minus Im. If we take Im common in the denominator term, we get RSH is equal to Im into Rm divided by Im, which is taken as common, into I upon Im minus 1. Simplify this equation, that is, cancel the term Im in numerator and denominator. We will get RSH is equal to Rm upon I upon Im minus 1. In this equation, RSH is the shunt resistance, Rm is the internal resistance of the galvanometer, I is the current to be measured, and the Im is the full-scale deflection current. The ratio of DC current to be measured, that is I, and the full-scale deflection current, that is Im, is represented as multiplying factor m. This can be written as m is equal to I upon Im. Write this equation as equation number 4. Substitute this value of m in equation number 3, that is, RSH will be equal to Rm upon m minus 1. Thus, value of the shunt resistance RSH can be obtained either by using equation number 2 or equation number 5 based on the available data. In the last slide, what we have seen is DC ammeter consists of a shunt resistor connected in parallel with the PMMC galvanometer. This DC ammeter can measure current up to a certain range, for example 1 milliampere. Thus, to extend the range further beyond 1 milliampere, what we can do is we can connect multiple shunt resistors in parallel to each other, and this parallel combination of shunt resistors is connected in parallel with the PMMC galvanometer. Thus, we obtain multi-range DC ammeter. To measure the DC current in any branch of an electric circuit, we have to connect these terminals in series with that branch of the electric circuit. To measure the desired range of current, we can rotate the switch and connect it to the respective shunt resistor. This is a circuit diagram for the multi-range DC ammeter with the 4 shunt resistors RSH1, RSH2, RSH3 and RSH4. The corresponding total direct current to be measured are I1, I2, I3 and I4 respectively. Let the multiplying factors corresponding to these ranges be M1, M2, M3 and M4. In the previous slides, we have derived equations for the shunt resistor RSH is equal to Rm upon m minus 1 and the multiplying factor as m is equal to I upon Im for the single shunt resistor connected in parallel with the PMMC galvanometer. Using the same analogy, we can find the values of multiplying factors and the shunt resistors as M1 is equal to I1 upon Im, where I1 is the total DC current to be measured by using the shunt resistor RSH1, and Im is the current flowing through the PMMC galvanometer. Using this value of M1, we can find the value of the shunt resistor 1. RSH1 will be equal to Rm divided by M1 minus 1. We have to replace M by M1. Similarly, we can find the remaining values of M2, M3 and M4. Using these values of the multiplying factors, we can find the shunt resistors. The switch used in this type of multi-range DC ammeter are called as make before break switch. This is because the switch S should be connected to the appropriate shunt resistor to select the desired range before connecting it to the circuit under test. But limitation of such multi-range DC ammeters is that there is a possibility of connecting the meter in the circuit without any shunt resistor. That is, this switch S is not connected to any shunt and the current to be measured is directly fed to these terminals. If current that is fed to this terminal is greater than the current which the coil can withstand, this moving coil will get damaged. To eliminate this possibility of connecting meter without a shunt resistor, the ammeter using Aeroton shunt is used. This ammeter we will be studying in the next slide. Now let us learn about multi-range DC ammeter using Aeroton or universal shunt. This is a circuit diagram for multi-range DC ammeter using Aeroton shunt. Here there is a selector switch S which can be connected at position 1, 2 or 3. Selector switch changes the amount of the resistance that has to be connected in parallel with the meter resistance Rm. Voltage drop across the parallel branches always remains the same. When all the resistances are placed in parallel with the Rm, that is Ra, Rb and Rc are connected in series and this combination is connected in parallel with the Rm, the maximum sensitivity of the ammeter is reached. Aeroton shunt is rarely used for currents above 10 amperes. When the switch is connected at position 1, resistance Ra will be connected in parallel with the series combination of Rm, Rb and Rc respectively. Thus, the current through the shunt will be more than the current through the meter movement. Thus, it will protect the meter movement and the sensitivity will be reduced for the higher current such as 10 amperes. When switch S is connected at position 2, the series combination of resistors Ra and Rb will be connected in parallel with the series combination of Rc and the meter resistance. Hence, the current through the meter is more than the current through the shunt resistance. Similarly, when the switch S is connected in position 3, resistors Ra, Rb and Rc are together connected in parallel with the meter movement. Hence, the maximum current can now flow through the meter movement and very little can flow through the shunt resistors. This increases the meter sensitivity even for the small currents such as 1 amperes. Advantages of multi-range DC ammeter using Aeroton or universal shunt are: first one, it eliminates the possibility of connecting a meter without a shunt resistor. It is more accurate and it extends the range of the galvanometer without changing its damping. The amount by which the moving coil moves is known as deflection. It is denoted as phi. Deflection of the coil per unit current that is flowing in this moving coil is known as current sensitivity. Current sensitivity is given as S suffix I is equal to phi upon I. Unit for the current sensitivity is degrees per ampere or radians per ampere. Deflection of the coil is directly proportional to the current which is flowing through the coil. Thus, smaller the amount of the current, larger will be the sensitivity of the meter. For example, the meter movement which requires 100 microamperes of the full-scale deflection current will have greater sensitivity than that of the meter which requires 1 milliampere for its full-scale deflection. These are some of the precautions one needs to take while using the ammeter. Always connect the ammeter in series with the load through which the current has to be measured. Observe the correct polarity. Reverse polarity of the probes causes the meter to deflect against the mechanical torque and this will damage the pointer. While using the multi-range meter to find the unknown current, always start with the highest current range first and then subsequently decrease the current range till substantial deflection is observed on the meter. Never connect the ammeter directly across the source of EMF because ammeter has a very low resistance which will draw a very high current and destroy the PMMC instrument. Now let us see how PMMC galvanometer can be used as DC voltmeter. DC voltmeter is the device used to measure DC voltage across any 2 points in an electric circuit. For example, consider this circuit which consists of resistor and the load, that is bulb, connected to DC supply. If we want to measure DC voltage across this bulb, we have to connect DC voltmeter in parallel with this bulb or load. This will give us DC voltage across the bulb. Now this is a DC voltmeter. This DC voltmeter consists of a PMMC galvanometer connected with a series resistance. This series resistance is known as series multiplier resistance or simply multiplier. This is used to limit the amount of current that flows through the galvanometer in order to prevent the meter current from exceeding the full-scale deflection. Let us try to find the expression for RSC, that is series multiplier resistance, connected in DC voltmeter. To find the expression for series multiplier resistance, we have to apply KVL to this loop. For applying KVL, you have to remember the sign convention. That is, for any voltage source E or V, if you are moving from negative to positive terminal, then the sign will be positive. And for any resistance, if the direction of loop and the direction of current are same, then the sign will be negative. So now let us apply KVL to this loop. The direction of loop is as shown with the red arrow. So starting with V, we are getting plus V as we are moving from negative to positive terminal. Then minus Im RSE, that is the drop across the resistor RSE, minus sign because the direction of current and the direction of loop are the same. Here there is a resistance offered by PMMC galvanometer which is written as Rm. So the drop across PMMC galvanometer will be minus Im Rm, minus sign because the direction of current and the direction of loop are again same. So the final equation which we get after applying KVL will be V minus Im RSE minus Im Rm equal to 0. Rearrange this equation so that we get V minus Im Rm equal to Im RSE. Now if we cross multiply and take this Im down, then we get the value of RSE as V minus Im Rm the whole divided by Im. Now if we divide Im individually, we get RSE is equal to V divided by Im minus this Im gets cancelled and we are remaining with just Im. Now write this equation as equation number 2. In this equation, RSE is the series multiplier resistance, V is the DC voltage to be measured, Im is the full scale deflection current, and Rm is the internal resistance offered by the galvanometer. The ratio of this voltage which has to be measured and the DC voltage drop across the galvanometer is known as the multiplying factor M. So mathematically we can write it as M is equal to V upon Vm. Write this equation as equation number 3. From equation number 1, we get V is equal to Im RSE plus Im Rm. What is done here is we are taking these two terms on the other side to find the value of V. Write this equation as equation number 4. Now the voltage drop across the PMMC galvanometer, that is Vm, is equal to Im into Rm. Write this equation as equation number 5. Now we have values for V and Vm. From equation number 4 and equation number 5, substitute Vm and V in equation number 3. So we get M is equal to Im RSE plus Im Rm upon Im into Rm. Solve this equation, that is you have to divide this term Im Rm for both these terms. So we get M is equal to RSE upon Rm. Since Im is common, it will get cancelled, plus 1, that is both these terms are same. So take this 1 on the other side, we get M minus 1 is equal to RSE upon Rm. Take Rm on the other side, so we get the value of RSE as RSE is equal to Rm into M minus 1. So we can find the value of RSE either from equation number 6 or from equation number 2 based on the available data. In the last slide, we have seen that a DC voltmeter consists of a single multiplier resistance connected in series with a PMMC galvanometer. But this DC voltmeter can measure only a particular range. Thus, to measure multiple ranges, we have to connect multiple multiplier resistors in parallel to each other, and this combination of resistors is connected in series with PMMC galvanometer. The voltage to be measured has to be connected across these terminals, and this switch will be used to select appropriate or desired range of voltages. This is a multi-range DC voltmeter with the 4 resistors RSE1, RSE2, RSE3 and RSE4 with the corresponding full range DC voltages to be measured as V1, V2, V3 and V4 respectively. The multiplying factors corresponding to these ranges are M1, M2, M3 and M4 respectively. In the previous slide, we have derived the equation for RSE, that is series multiplier resistor, and the multiplying factor M corresponding to the DC voltmeter with a single series multiplier resistor. Using the same analogy, we can find M1 as V1 upon Vm. That is, when the switch is connected at position V1, that is to RSC1, the M1 or multiplying factor is given as V1, that is full range DC voltage corresponding to this position, divided by the voltage drop across the PMMC galvanometer. With this value of M1, we can find the corresponding value of RSC1 or series multiplier resistor 1 as RSC1 equal to Rm into M1 minus 1. Similarly, now we can find the values for M2, M3 and M4 and use these values to find the corresponding values of their resistances. There is one more arrangement of multi-range DC voltmeter that is more practically used. Here the multiplier resistors are connected in series and the range selector switch is used to select the appropriate amount of the resistance that is required to be in series with the PMMC instrument. Deflection of the coil per unit voltage across the moving coil is known as voltage sensitivity. The expression for voltage sensitivity is given as S suffix V is equal to phi upon V, where phi is the deflection of the coil. Unit for voltage sensitivity is given as degrees per volt or radians per volt. These are some of the precautions one needs to take while using the voltmeter. Always connect the voltmeter in parallel with the load across which the voltage needs to be measured. Observe the correct polarity. Reverse polarity of the probes causes the meter to deflect against the mechanical torque and this will damage the pointer. To measure the unknown voltages using multi-range voltmeter, one has to select higher voltage range first and then decrease the voltage ranges subsequently till substantial deflection is observed. Always be aware of the loading effect. This effect can be minimized by using as high voltage range as possible. AC voltmeters. What is an AC voltmeter? AC voltmeter is an instrument which is used to measure AC voltages across any two points in an electric circuit. If the AC voltmeter consists of an rectifier, then it is said to be rectifier-based AC voltmeter. DC voltmeter, which we have learnt earlier, can measure only DC voltages. It cannot measure AC voltages directly. So, to use DC voltmeter for measuring AC voltages, we need to follow two steps. First, we have to convert this AC signal into rectified DC output voltage using a rectifier. This rectifier output signal has to be fed to DC voltmeter so that it can measure or read DC or average value. Thus, rectifier based AC voltmeter can be obtained just by including rectifier circuit to the DC voltmeter. Now there are two types of rectifier based AC voltmeters. First, AC voltmeter using half wave rectifier and second one, AC voltmeter using full wave rectifier. AC voltmeter using half wave rectifier consists of a half wave rectifier followed by a DC voltmeter. Replace these blocks with the appropriate circuit diagram. That is, half wave rectifier consists of a diode and DC voltmeter is a series combination of a series resistor with a PMMC galvanometer. Together, this combination forms AC voltmeter using half wave rectifier. Now, let us derive expression for the output voltage produced by the AC voltmeter. The output voltage produced by the AC voltmeter is equal to VDC, where VDC is the DC equivalent signal of the rectified output waveform. The RMS value or root mean square value of the AC signal is given as Vrms is equal to Vm upon root 2, where Vm is the maximum value of the sinusoidal AC signal. If we cross multiply, we get Vm is equal to root 2 into Vrms. Substitute root 2 as 1.414. We get Vm is equal to 1.414 into Vrms. Write this equation as equation number 1. DC or average value of the half wave rectifier output signal is given as VDC is equal to Vm upon pi. Substitute equation number 1 in this equation, we get VDC is equal to 1.414 Vrms divided by pi. Thus, VDC is equal to 0.45 Vrms. Therefore, the AC voltage produced by this voltmeter is equal to 0.45 times RMS value of the AC input signal. Now let us learn about AC voltmeter using full wave rectifier. AC voltmeter using full wave rectifier can be obtained by simply placing full wave rectifier in front of DC voltmeter. Now replace these blocks with the appropriate circuit diagrams, that is full wave rectifier is replaced with the bridge rectifier and DC voltmeter is the combination of series resistance with the PMMC galvanometer. Thus this combination together forms the AC voltmeter using full wave rectifier. Now let us derive an equation for the output voltage produced by the AC voltmeter. The output voltage produced by the AC voltmeter is equal to VDC, where VDC is the DC equivalent of the rectified output signal. The RMS value, that is root mean square value of the AC signal, is given as Vrms is equal to Vm upon root 2, where Vm is the maximum value of the AC signal. Now if we cross multiply, we get Vm is equal to root 2 into Vrms. Substitute root 2 as 1.414. We get Vm is equal to 1.414 Vrms. Write this equation as equation number 1. Now the DC value or the average value of the full wave rectifier signal is VDC is equal to twice Vm upon pi. Substitute equation number 1, that is value of Vm, in this equation. We get VDC is equal to twice 1.414 Vrms divided by pi. Simplify this equation and we'll get VDC is equal to 0.9 into Vrms. Thus, the output voltage produced by the AC voltmeter is equal to 0.9 times root mean square value of the sinusoidal AC signal. For this presentation, I have referred to the textbook, A Course in Electrical and Electronic Measurements and Instrumentation by A.K. Shawnee, and a website on electronic measuring instrumentation tutorial at tutorialspoint.com. For any further details or queries, kindly contact me via email ID or WhatsApp. Thank you.